Right.
The power's fed to the gun through a low voltage cable.
Right.
And then there's a multiplier or cascade up in here that increases the voltage.
Right.
This one, the new one goes up to 110 kV, 110 microamps. All that can be adjusted separately on the controller. Some other models don't separate all that, but typically you want to spray at 100 kV,
Right.
your maximum potential of charge, and then the microamps. You want to try to keep it high if you have a flat part. If you have complex parts like this one back here, you
Right.
reduce your microamps. It allows you to get that powder in there. And you may see that on this here.
So I know with the automatics, you're able to just set it at one thing, but then for the
On the manual gun, you can do it. So
yeah.
on the manual gun, you can, this particular setting is 100,
Flat.
yeah, for flat part, it'll show 100 kV and 100 microamps.
100 microamps?
Yep. That's the potential. Yep. Now, as you start spraying, that will reduce.
Okay.
Now, it can go up to 110, 110 on another setting, but for these particular preset,
I think is this better?
oh
or
yeah,
75?
yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do both.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now typically you're
So yeah,
So-
back to the presets.
yes.
100 kV and 100 microamps.
So
This
the
is
information that I've gathered is that usually you go 10 to 20 microamps.
on a complex part. Yes. Like something like this, getting down in recessed areas.
Right.
And that's what this setting is for. This is the complex setting.
Right.
So still 100 kV with 22 microamps.
Okay. So you recommend 22 for a complex, but then as high as 100 for a flat part?
Actually as high as 110 with this gun. When this gun first came out, I forget when we did our demo over there at Shawnee Ridge,
Yep.
4 or 5 years ago, whatever. If you can spray it at 110, better off you are. It's going to be more efficient,
Right.
but it may not get inside recessed areas.
Makes sense.
So that's when you want to. That's why it gives you all this functionality as far as adjusting. You got a lot of adjustment.
Right.
So, you can program your own recipes. I
Right.
can lock this unit out. Like if y'all set it, say operators don't fool with it. Just a matter of
Okay.
pushing a couple of buttons.
You
And
mind
I
showing
don't,
us what buttons those are?
not right now because I don't know what they are.
That's fine.
But I can find it. I have a cheat sheet.
If you can give us, you can send that over, that'd be great.
I think it's even in the manual.
You know which one?
The operator manual for
The or the
manual.
manuals.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. And there used to be a catalog down there, but I can.
I
If
have
you'll
all
take
the
notes, maybe
manuals.
put TV beside that. That way I can make sure I get that for you.
Okay, sounds great.
Yep.
Thank you.
For these buttons right here,
Mm-hmm.
they have like specific settings for a flat part and a more complex part.
Correct.
Are we able to like adjust that and keep the,
Not on those presets.
Okay.
But this here allows you to do
Okay.
your own recipes.
Gotcha. So those
that's
those
like-
ones are like
If you knew you were going to have some kind of part coming in, you could be like, okay, we've decided this is the
That
recipe.
is
we want.
correct. That is
Can't
correct. Like
edit
the
that.
Potorf part, it's a very complex part.
Yeah.
It's hard to get powder up into areas, so you're probably going to be spraying at a very low microamp just to get the powder up in there.
Now, what do you define as a low microamp? Is it 10? Is it 22?
Below 22.
Below
This
22.
actually, and I'll show you when we get to the other recipes.
Yep.
You can even drop down into, they call it PCC mode. Don't use it much, but I can share that with you too. It actually allows you to drop below 10
Okay.
microamps.
But typically, you don't go below 10. It makes
Typically
sense.
not. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Otherwise, if you don't have any microamps, your powder is just not going to
Right.
not going
It
to
needs
attract
to-
to the part.
Exactly. That's just interesting that you say that because from the information that I've gathered,
Mhm.
even for complex parts, or even for flat parts, it's like 20 is the highest you would go, maybe like 25.
Microamps, even
yes,
for
the
flat
microamps,
parts?
for even flat parts. So that is just from a manual on
Okay.
how to do standard parts. But if you're saying that you go up to 110,
Yeah,
take your word on that.
definitely use that on flat parts if you can.
Sounds good. And I mean, that's preset on there anyways, so
Yes.
you can't change that on the presets.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Only on recipes. have up to, I think there's 20 recipes on manual guns.
Yep.
On automatic, I think there's 250 recipes.
Yeah.
On the automatics.
Okay. You said 250 on the automatic.
I believe so. Yeah.
And remind me again on the manual.
20.
Okay. And I know this is probably setting recipes is a later project for them. It's my understanding. So.
Unless you monitor every part, I mean, it takes time to do it.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. You need to have a film thickness gauge. Have y'all played
have
around?
that.
Okay, so you need to have that. The system needs to be working in optimal spray mode.
Yeah.
And you need to have your film thickness gauge so you can see. Play around with it.
Yep.
And again, most people don't use it. Don't do that because they don't have time. They're trying to run production.
Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
stuff like that is probably going to be done on a Saturday. But that means you got to start your whole line and have your oven running.
Makes sense. Okay.
All right. Oh, all right.
Someone turned it on.
So this guy, this operator has it on 90,
Yep.
6.5, almost max. Max is not good.
Where of that? That's why we were kind of questioning it. I assume that was for compensating on the wear of the parts.
Yeah. Probably not.
Okay.
He's probably just.
That was my best.
This is not abnormal. Operators do that. They just think the more the better.
Yeah, but it's obviously not as efficient and it's not as
optimal. Got on the back side, so that's what should be happening. That's a complex part.
Yeah.
Now, also, typically you want to do your complicated areas first. Before you ever start doing flat spots, try to get your difficult areas first.
How does that work if we're doing the automatic first?
So that's why some people put touch up or do post spray or pre-spray instead of post.
Right.
Yours are post.
That's, yeah. We don't have, it's already set up that way, so we can't really change that. So in that case, obviously it'll come afterwards regardless.
So that's why you need to run that first and see what areas you can get and what you're not getting.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Time study.
That looks pretty good now. That was with the 22 microns.
Okay.
Let's do that now. Go back to the 100 and see what we get. That's not bad. So in this situation, I'd be using 100 all the time.
Okay.
It's not that difficult to spray. Now he's got a lot of powder coming out.
Yeah.
All right, let's
just
do
say,
this.
let's try doing it back to the normal and see how it's faring.
So let's do this. There is actually a chart that shows output of your powder.
Yep.
Alright, so that's not working for some reason.
The back buttons.
Just a lot softer spray.
Yeah.
You don't have all that blow by.
Right.
But there again, if the part's coming real fast, he's got to have more powder coming out to try to keep up. It's not just here, it's even over at Shawnee Ridge.
Yeah.
They need to utilize the automatics as much as they can.
Right. You know that.
But without doing testing, you're not going to be able to say, all right, Mr. Operator, you don't need to be on there.
Right. So how do you have any recommendations on how to carry out that testing at all?
When you're not running production, run whatever
Right.
part and see what you're getting with the automatics.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can back the conveyor up here,
wouldn't be able to answer that. That's a
blow the
question for
part
Nicholas.
off, back it up, do it again, or just have multiple parts, strap
Well,
parts.
you can't determine how thick it is until you run it through the oven. Though.
There are gauges you can do before cure.
Okay. Is that even the standard like paint thickness gauge? Will that work for that?
No, but that's
Exactly.
close. That's similar. They make one specifically for powder before it's cured. It's like a cone of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
familiar.
aware of us having those. I can double check because that, as far as I'm aware, we only have the ones for after it's been cured.
Okay, right.
So
And if they're checking that, they should be able to say, "Hey, we're putting too much powder." There should
Yeah.
be a target.
I'd imagine since we're having to.
I don't know why that started. They're getting ready to run. Woo!
You know, part.
I mean, so somebody needs to be coming in here from time to time and cleaning those automatic guns off too. Let's go to the.
My understanding is they clean them off every morning. Was it morning or every day?
Okay, they should be.
Yeah, yeah.
They should be for sure. But that's a simple test to make sure the gun's working.
Sure.
Is that just the fact that the like conductivity is actually going like through the hand?
That's over the mark.
Can you say anything about looking at the spray? How well is it doing on the mercury setting?
That seemed okay. It wasn't bad. If you get a lot of pulsing, you may have to adjust your settings, and that's just trial and error. It looks pretty. Powder's not like liquid.
Yeah.
Have y'all sprayed any liquid coatings yet? Wet paint?
I mean, spray paint, like outside of here,
But actually with a spray gun or a can.
it's not mine.
Okay.
With a can, yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be fairly smooth. I can send you some documents of what powder should look like. They're going to send the manuals, but I can get you nozzle.
I've seen those.
Okay,
so
okay.
We did a bit of light reading through all the manuals.
Okay.
So,
And it has a lot to do with the amount of air on the hopper
Yeah.
where the powder comes out. If it's just totally fluidizing, you're just getting so much air, then you're going to have problems out here.
yeah.
Maybe we can look at that when we go over there and see what that's set at.
We done over here? Is that all you're going to
I
show us?
think, I
So
mean,
yeah, let's go over there.
okay, we'll leave that there. All right,
Thank
after
you.
you.
Last week it was a little out of position, so we can see what we got working right now.
So do you know what all this is doing up here?
Yeah.
Yes, that's where it brings in the old powder.
Yep, you got virgin powder and it's bringing in the old powder.
Yep.
It's going through this funnel up here and then it's all coming through the collector down into the hopper. This is what gets sprayed.
Yeah.
There is level sensors on here that basically tell this box here when to turn on, when to pump powder through the system.
So when it tells us to come on, will it be fully pulled from the reclaim and the virgin?
So
How-
there's supposed to be like either a 60-30 or 70,
So you said that.
60-40, 70-30.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Ask the powder supplier. Matter of
Okay.
fact, they're the ones that I did a lot with Kubota.
Yeah.
They're the ones that say this is what your mix needs to be.
Say that again?
They basically tell them this is where your mix needs to be.
Okay.
So see if they have a recommendation somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay.
And the level sensor is because the way it works is the powder gets smaller and smaller as it goes through.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, enough of it is filtered out of the system to where this says, okay, we need more. That's like when the mixing happens.
Yep, that's correct. So that's fluidizing.
Right.
Can that be reduced? Possibly so.
Now how do you change settings around for that?
Alright, so trying to find out where there's a hose that goes to the bottom of the hopper. I'm trying to find out where it is. So this is what controls that.
Okay.
What's that on? 25?
14.
So they may have decided that's optimum. I don't know, but this
Okay.
let's see how low we can go.
Lower is better, I would imagine.
You just want it sort of simmering.
Okay. So just set it to where it's the lower is better,
Lower
right?
the better.
Because pressure.
So we dropped it almost 10 pounds. We dropped it almost 10 pounds.
This is measured in pounds.
Probably both. Probably PSI and bar.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Most of the gauges are both.
That's what I thought.
Yes, we're
So
at
just the
15.
fluidization control based on that.
So if this is too high, then you have all basically too much fluidization. It goes back and vents off into the collector. That's what this is. This is like a Venturi,
Yeah.
and it blows it back into the hopper.
You said
That's
if
why
it's
it's
too
not
much-
blowing out here.
If it's too much pressure, then it flows back and forth.
Correct. Yeah, there again, you want to have just enough to where it's fluidizing. Could they drop it more? Possibly.
Do you have a understanding as to why they would have it higher? Fair enough.
No, I don't.
Okay, that's okay. We can ask that later.
So, all right, all these are the powder pumps. So when you pull the trigger on the gun, it sends air here and here.
Okay, so the red is the air and the black is
The red controls the powder output.
okay.
Total powder, and this is basically like the atomization there. There's
Right.
different verbiages out there, but
Right.
the controller, whether it's the automatic or the manual, separates where that air goes.
Right.
Like on the controller with 60 and 4.0, you start increasing the air on the powder, more air goes here. That's what the processor does inside there, behind the scenes. You want to have it balanced so you have a good flow of powder.
Right. How do you determine that?
How do you determine that?
Yes.
Just spraying.
And you can tell based on the
You can go over there and right there.
And now your hand's not gonna have an issue because your fingers are touching it, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
But, so basically, I just turn the air off.
Yeah.
So it's and as I turn this up, it's not going to give us more powder, but it should make it more uniform. So he
Right.
had it on 6.5. I'm going to put that back up. Just got to try to dial it down and get the best flow and the best coverage.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out why they have it so high. If you were able to determine that it's still working fine at factory level settings, that's what we're trying to gather.
I
like-
would start there and go up or down.
Sure. I just need to know.
And there again, your chart that
Yeah.
has the outputs. If there's a way you can put a vacuum bag over this and weigh your powder outputs with a gram scale.
Yeah.
Have you seen that anywhere?
We
Or
have
I think I've heard of that.
so some people do it. I've been involved with selling powder equipment now 20 years. I think I've seen it done once. But
Yeah.
that's how.
That's how you
If we were to
optimize
go
that.
in and try to sell, like somebody was using Nordson, and we were trying to sell GEMA, we go in there and bag all their guns and see what their powder output is. And then we try to improve their efficiency by putting GEMA guns.
Yeah.
It's sort of what, at that point, we know what that customer's powder output is.
Yeah.
And that may be what you want to do on these at some point. Have your baseline.
I'll mention it and see what we
Yeah.
want to do with that.
Will they do that? There again, that's going to be a Saturday thing.
Like I said, I can mention it.
You got to turn your voltage off, and just the powder coming out.
Okay, turn the voltage off. It's just the powder.
Yeah.
So it's the powder and I assume the air as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So, all right. Do you remember what you set on? Was it
can't remember. I can look back at this.
I think it was.
On what?
Flat or complex.
I cannot.
So when we go to our recipes,
Right.
there's number one. That's on 100 kV and PCC mode, basically 7.5 microamps.
Okay.
That's where if they were going to get down in a very complicated part
Yeah.
recessed area. Why that's set there, I don't have a clue. But if you're going to make recipes, log them somewhere.
Yeah, that's a project for future dates, is what I've been told. Not
But yeah,
necessarily on the books right
log
now.
all that stuff. You
Yeah.
may have a certain part that works best in this setting.
Right now, we're just trying to get the general sense of how to do it,
Yeah.
and settings is a little
There you
later.
go. That's back to where the power output was.
Yeah, I'm just, if you're able to say that right now it's working fine at factory settings and they don't need to have it that high, then we can go ahead and set that as a standard, right? That's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to create standards so that we can address some of these
You want
concerns.
to run this down to 60 and 4.0 right now, see what they say?
I mean,
But somebody's
Yeah.
going to have to monitor that area that they're covering, make sure they're getting good coverage.
yeah,
Who's going to do that?
I know. I was just saying
Probably
based
not
off,
today.
yeah, I was just saying based off of what you're seeing right now.
I mean, I haven't seen a part come through.
Yeah, that's fine.
There comes the part now. All right, let's.
Looks like they do work well for the manual guns.
Now, in terms of the
This is a power pump.
right?
This is basically what makes the system work well.
Right.
As far as providing powder from the box up out of the gun. This is a wear part.
You said a wear part?
Wear. W-E-A-R.
Okay.
Wear like that. This is an injector.
Right.
So basically, you have a venturi that pulls the powder up out from the box, and then it pushes it out here, and that's the powder, and the black one is the air that pushes it out around here, and then on out through the hose and helps the air helps the powder carry itself out to the
Right.
gun. There's a gauge for checking this. Basically, it's a no-go gauge.
Okay.
I don't know if last time I was here we found some. I don't know where it is
I
now.
would be able to tell you, but I'd love to see it if you could. But
Yes.
do you want to? We can ask them and see where that is. Okay.
So this is important to clean daily.
Okay, I was just about to ask about the cleaning.
So a lot of the parts here that need cleaning is typically a visual. It's, because this is sold all over the world. Basically, clean this once every 24 hours. Check this once every 24 hours. But
Okay.
clean it whether you're changing colors or at the end of the day. Don't leave this in the powder at the end of the day. Try to
Okay.
get it all cleaned up.
And do you know what that would entail at all, or do we just look at that?
Say
Do
now?
you know what that would entail at all, or do we just look at that? In the manual.
And the manual has all this. Yeah. And I've sent multiple manuals out here, but I don't mind doing it again. It's just
We
a
have
matter
all
of
the manuals.
okay, electronically.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
That's-
So this is considered their IG07 pump. I don't expect you to remember the model numbers because the
IG07.
manufacturer tells me that all the time. I know which one it is.
It's all on here.
Okay.
I don't know where Joe was saying on it.
Okay.
All right. So see that hole right there?
Yeah.
That needs to be pointed up when you're putting it in.
Okay. Up as defined as these. Or
Correct. Yeah, air comes in for basically this controls the powder.
Yeah.
So it comes in, creates a venturi, suction, pulls it up, pushes it out.
And I assume there's nothing keeping it. You just have to put the geometry of that isn't set such that it'll automatically keep it pointing upward. You just have to make
No,
sure it's pointing upward.
it's not going to shut the unit down.
Yeah. Okay.
In the manual for this, there's a cutaway drawing of it. It
Yeah.
shows what everything's doing.
Yeah.
So you look at that. Put this back together. This spring guard on here is to keep it from kinking because of the angle here.
Yeah.
That is for.
So with this one, we might see some issues.
So that's why that is here. Over time, you know, it may restrict. Matter of fact,
That's
that hose
interesting.
probably needs to be cut off. There's some type of flaw right there. You feel that with your finger.
Oh,
It's soft.
yeah.
That's a bit of an issue. Okay.
Oh, well.
There you go. Just like
Oh.
normally it's on there somewhere.
Okay, I mean, we can add that, I mean, on your end, making sure, like as a daily inspection, making sure this is up.
Yep.
Or a weekly or how, I think daily is important. Okay. So you said change that out daily. Do you have an understanding of how to change out the colors?
There's videos on that.
Okay. We'll just reference
Yes,
that.
we can go through that.
You can just say there's videos.
Yeah.
Do you know where to reference those?
Matter of fact, if you make a note for me, please, send videos. I've got a link that's got probably a dozen or so videos for Kiva.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
They recently released a bunch, put it all in one file. Or not one file, but one location.
And that would be this.
I don't know if it's going to be this specific unit, but like the pump and stuff like that.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Let's talk about the guns real quick.
Okay.
You have extensions on your guns. This is a smaller, I think two different diameter extensions. This is their smaller. Special size, This is their smaller diameter. They make one that's larger that uses this same, this will not go on here,
Yeah.
but they make a larger one that uses the same electrode and fan nozzle. It's a little bit heavier, but that way you only have to have, you don't have to have different size nozzles.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets confusing, even to us. So the operator or somebody didn't give me the correct part number, it's likely you're going to get one for this that doesn't fit on this. But this is what they decided to go with. This just allows them to get a little closer to the part instead of having to reach in so far.
Okay.
Component, fan nozzle.
Okay.
With this new system, 110 kBs, they also use a larger nozzle called the NF40. It's designed to reduce the velocity coming out of the gun, makes it more efficient as far as transfer efficiency. And they have a variety. I don't know if you marked on there. Have you seen all the different nozzles available? Or did they send that to you? That's much smaller. So still a fan nozzle, just a different size. And this is electrode. This is where the little wire is. So basically on the front of the gun. All right, let's do this. Here, I'll let you hold that for a second. So I mentioned to you the low voltage cable, the cascader, the multiplier. This is what increases the voltage. It basically it comes out right here, and then let me this is right here. If this was the larger one, it would slide through here and make contact with that probe. That's basically what sends the voltage out here to this electrode.
How often do those need to be cleaned or changed?
It needs to be cleaned daily, maybe
Okay.
even multiple times. There are some recommended hours, and Nova, if you can make a note for me on that one, please. Schedule replacement hours. Anyway, they may be on my cheat sheet on my send you.
I mean, they sent us this periodic maintenance schedule, but
Okay.
this isn't hourly. This is daily.
Oh, that's from when they came
Yeah.
in and did the service visit before.
Yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't have the hourly. So if you can find the hourly,
You can make me a note on that one, please. All right, let's put all this back together. But just keep in mind, all this stuff's plastic. It does get damaged. That's why you need to have replacement parts. They get hit, they get dropped.
When do you
And then, eventually it's going to affect the way it sprays.
when do you determine, like, how do you determine which nozzle size is the best?
Playing around with different nozzle sizes.
There's a lot of that.
I wouldn't get too excited about different nozzles.
Okay.
There are some standards.
Sure.
Chart I'll show you.
Um,
Especially down on the automatics, pretty much just have one nozzle. On the manual guns, that's when you typically change, depending on your part. But like down there, on the automatics, you need to have a certain size pattern width, so when it's going up and down, you get the parts coming through, you get the proper spray.
right.
And
All that's been calculated by how many guns are required, spacing of the guns, all that's important.
Right. And you say when they've been calculated, that's
Well, so
when-
there's calculations for it.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's when it was set up, that's when it was done.
and
All that's based on line speed, part opening size.
I was just gonna ask, you were saying to have like multiple spares. I see we're using both kinds of them. So would it be ordering just like a bunch of the extra parts?
So, he's probably using this to get in recessed areas. There again, I don't know what he's using this for. Flat parts, maybe?
Okay.
I mean, right here they don't have automatic, so it would make sense to have one for these and one for
And
another.
I don't know if they have 4 operators up here or just 2.
Could answer that? I would imagine it's two.
I think it's just 2. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a conductive ring. That's what makes contact with that little pin on the front of the gun. And
So that was in here as well.
that, when you buy an electrode, that's what this is, you get the whole thing.
Okay.
And then the fan nozzle is sold separately. You can buy them together. There's a part number. It saves you a few dollars. Most people just buy multiples of these and multiples of the nozzles.
Right.
You said that was called a conductor, or what was it called again?
And this is an electrode.
Electroconductor.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I don't know why they have all these inserts up here. My thing is, if they're worn out, get rid of them. Don't save the spares.
I imagine there's some
My opinion.
cost saving.
But what are you saving if it's worn out?
Yeah, you gotta toss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this next guy picks it up. He doesn't know.
Do they have set criteria of how to determine whether something is worn out or not?
On these, yes.
You were saying he has the go, no go.
Yep.
Yeah.
No go, no go. Yes. And, I don't know, Joe. Either one. Any of you
It's
have
like a-
access to that cabinet over there?
Yeah, it's
Let's go through it.
There's no one spare parts which will always have. What happened was we didn't have enough stock, and so that's why things were getting replaced as they should. So I'd like to know what needs to be kept as spares.
I was hoping last time they were here they would organize this.
Yeah.
Who's going to do that?
Probably engineering, since we're taking over for Kenneth. So, what?
Did you say there's a list of everything that you should have in here?
No, we need to make that list.
Yeah.
We need to make that list.
And I don't mind coming back out, but you need to probably pull all the powder stuff out, put that in, lay it out, see what you have. Like you have these,
Yes.
injector.
That was great.
This here is a little filter that goes in, not this part, but the part that this connects to, the stem, if you will.
Okay.
There's a little filter in there. Basically keeps powder from going back into the controller
Makes sense.
and also cleans the air coming into the powder system. But those need to be replaced every
how
6
is that-
months, once a year. Just depends on how much powder gets packed up in there.
Sure. But all of that's detailed in the go, no go?
No, not on that.
No.
This is the go only does this.
Okay. So how do we determine whether those need to be replaced then?
I think it's just
If it's not, like, you could say, oh, if it's not working, but then how do we determine which part exactly?
So if air's not blowing through,
Uh-huh.
that means it's stopped up, or you got other problems. somewhere.
Right. So if air is not going through, what is the proper procedure of what to check?
Look at the manual and see what it to be organized and consolidated.
This is. Well, we can bring it up with them.
That's what I was telling them. Y'all may have a lot of the parts already here, and you don't need to see the.
The organizational structure is not something that I was involved in. This is a project we've recently been tasked with.
There's the larger one.
Okay.
There's the smaller for the extensions.
Okay.
We actually, when I was here last time, consolidated a lot of parts together. So I call this an insert. This is the pump insert for the IGO-7
Okay.
that supplies powder to the guns. This is an insert for the transfer pumps. Typically the transfer pumps are up underneath the boot. That's where the fluidizing area is. So it's much larger
Okay.
and pumps more powder out. But this wears too. There's not a gauge for it.
And determining whether
If you're not getting powder out or your powder delivery is getting slow,
so you could say the powder delivery is.
there may be a manual that shows how often we check it.
There is the manuals.
This is part of the automatic side.
Okay. I mean, the manuals just have information like this, just like change it out regularly.
There you go.
But
That's all I can say. That's from the manufacturer. Sorry.
that's all good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as much out
I
of you as
understand.
possible. So, if it's outside of what you know, just let me know and I know where to look.
So this is the powder pump for the transfer.
Okay.
See, it's a much larger piece of goods. I'm not going to push all that anyway, but this goes on the tube that comes out of the hopper, and then you have air, and the system will turn the air on. So once it's turned on, then it's going to suck powder and push it back over to the sieve, the reclaim unit, basically. So that's a transfer pump. We've got a couple of spares. Many manual guns, occasionally automatics. I'll have to see how often. Yeah, it actually goes down inside. It's a plastic gauge. Plastic gauge. In your studying and learning about this, did you say anything about impact fusion?
Is that from friction? Yes, that's why I know that helps with that.
Especially on the manual guns, because nope. There's a little gauge that goes down in
Oh,
there. Okay. Yeah, if you have it, please.
That's why I keep on saying high pressure is an issue. This is an impact fusion.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe. Yes.
No.
They're gone. That's where they would be. And also, some of those are older injectors. That's what it looks like. It's on that little piece of plastic. So, there again, check it once every 24 hours.
Okay. And that's basically because when the powder is coming through, it's like wearing it down.
Powders are abrasive. Some powders more abrasive than others. So yes, it's a wear part. So as you can see, if it doesn't go in all the way, it's good. If it goes all the way down in there, it starts to run out.
Okay. Makes sense.
But yeah, that's
See, that would be great. Oh yeah. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for.
There we go.
That would be cool.
it's
that's-
still technically okay. So this is the one that I hooked up over there. So I'll just hold on to that.
No, why why would it be that if it doesn't go down all the way? Go ahead.
No.
I imagine it's like
There you go.
Oh,
I think it's taper
abrasive.
getting smaller, so you check it, and as it wears down, that taper gets larger.
Makes sense. Yeah. We'll add that to maintenance.
But yes, this cleans the gun out.
Yep.
Got to be easy.
Yeah.
If they go up there and jam it, ram it up in there, you can actually do more harm.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
So, this is the way it comes from the factory. This is just on here, so it helps you pull it out of the pump. That's all that is. And also, that you that one. So, that's how you.
I'd imagine we'd need one of those tapes at every that
It seems like
ideally.
they send us. Do they send it like multiple with it, or is it like per? Like, how many of these will they send you?
That comes with a new pump.
Okay.
So